Alright, so we are here with Paul Speckmann of Master.
Hello.
Paul, give us a rundown. What's been going on with Master in the last few months?
In the last few months, my guitar player and drummer for the last 16 years decided to quit the band. They wanted more marijuana, more food, more money. And you know, the reality is in this business is that if you're not Metallica or Motorhead, let's say, for example, your money isn't going up every year. Sometimes it stays the same. I'm not saying it's not a good fee, but it's pretty consistent. And the previous members wanted me to take money out of my part of the band all the time and give them more of my money. Well, I have to make a living too. And I treated those guys with respect for 16 years. I flew them around the world. I bought a car to travel them around to festivals. I put them on tour buses. We toured on a tour bus every year in Europe, twice a year. I really showed them a great time, and I also paid them in advance for every concert they ever played. So to talk shit about me is really sad, because I thought we were friends. 16 years is a long time.
It is. And that's a lifetime.
And apparently we weren't as good of friends as I thought. It was more about money and what they could get from me, and that's too bad. But life goes on. Enough said.
New members. Anybody new showing up?
Yeah, okay, so then as soon as this fell apart, I knew I had more shows coming, and I contacted the drummer, Rustin Gross, who's been playing with me on and off in America since 2008. Excuse me, just 8. And he was interested. So I got him, and then this guitar player, Patrick Shea, he played on the US tour 3 years ago. And he's great friends with Rustin. They grew up together, so he was interested as well. Okay, Rustin lives in Delray Beach, Florida, and the guitar player lives in Los Angeles, and I live in the Czech Republic. So we all met in Florida for rehearsals, did some shows there. Then we did the Mexican tour for 11 shows across Mexico. Then 2 weeks off, so rehearsals again in Los Angeles. And here we are now on the tour. This is day number 9 today.
How is that going to work out with all three of you being in different parts of the world?
Everyone rehearses on their own, and then we get together and rehearse for a week or 2 weeks or a few days, and we're ready to go. It works. As long as everyone's prepared, including me, then it works, yeah.
Even before those big changes took place, you did a brand new record. You want to show the album and say a few things about that?
Yes, Vindictive Miscreant.
All right.
It's a great record. It's old school. And speaking about the guys, you know, the last few records, they were good too, but a lot of shorter songs. And this time around, the Vindictive Miscreant, I wrote some songs like back in the Abomination days where they're like 6 or 7 minutes each, and so there's only 8 songs on the album. But the point is the guys agree with me when they heard it too, is that the songs are killer with a lot of changes, and they're interesting, so we went with it. And they said, okay, so they're longer than the past. We're going backwards, we're going back to the past. And so I wrote a cool record with a lot of nice ideas and longer songs, more in the Abomination vein in a sense, but still Master. Yeah, if that makes any sense.
How are the people responding to the new album?
They're loving the new album all around the world. It keeps selling, and this Vindictive Miscreant release from Transcending Obscurity in India, it's doing very well. People like it. And he did a really good job too, this Kuno from the record company. It's an Indian label, yeah.
What does it take for you to write a Master record? I mean, how do you approach each album?
You know, I sit down with my acoustic guitar in the backyard or in my bedroom only every once in a while, and I hope that a song comes to me, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But what's interesting is that I find that when I don't force it, I'll just sit down and pick up the acoustic. Sometimes I can write a whole song in fucking 15 minutes, which is amazing. You know? They come natural is what I'm trying to say. I don't know why, but they come natural, you know? These riffs and stuff, they just come to me. I don't know where they're coming from, but they're coming.
I mean, you have a big body of work. If you look back, a lot of records.
But I mean, even for the next record, I already have 20 new songs written at home. You know, 20 brand new songs for the next record, which will be next year.
Lyrically, where do you find your inspiration?
You know, that's another thing. Okay, obviously I find my inspiration in what's going on in the political scene in the world today, what's going on in life, death, politics, religion, what's going on in my life. It's like every record is, let's say, sort of a journal of my life. I can go back to a record and I remember things that were going on at that time. So it's sort of like a diary, but on a record, if that makes sense.
It does. Now, one thing that you never did in Master, you never really dabbled like in Satanism. It was always like social issues, religion, but things never got really dark. I mean, you were one of probably the more intelligent bands because of it.
I don't want to say that. It's fine that other people sing about Satan. For me, it's just it's fiction. I try to sing about reality.
I mean, I always look at it as kind of a horror movie, right?
Yeah, which
horror
is
movie never killed anybody,
I'm not
right?
Criticize. I'm just saying it's not my speed. I like to write about what's going on, really happening today. I try to be upfront on what's going on.
Now, what about the Master sound? I mean, members come and go, yet the sound stays the same. How do you maintain that sound? What does it take for you to get that sound?
Oh, I just try to stick to my guns, man, and it's hard to say that. It's hard to answer that one.
I know. That's what I'm asking.
I just try and keep it heavy. I tell the guys, we're looking for a specific heavy sound, and you got to try and get that. The new lineup, the guitar player has a bit of a different sound, but trust me, it's going to be great on record. You'll hear it tonight. I notice. He's more of a younger guy, but he still has a great tone, but it's a different tone from this record. But it's going to be great, I'm sure of it.
But even your bass, I mean, the moment I hear it, I know it's you.
Oh, I'm just looking for the heaviest bass sound in the world. I try to keep it that way.
Did you ever get any attention from like guitar trade magazines regarding your sound?
Never.
I'm surprised because, I mean, no one does it like you. Let's face it.
People aren't interested for some reason in original sounds. I don't know why. It's things are just starting to happen finally. We're starting to get a break. We're getting some endorsements for guitars and basses and stuff. This never happened to me. Just in the past few years, I finally got an endorsement deal where the guy's making me handmade basses, and it's wonderful. But it took me my whole career to get to that point. So it's really hard to get attention unless you're super successful, I think.
Now, speaking of that, I mean, you spend a lot of time promoting yourself, your product. I mean, I see a lot of stuff on Facebook. You make things available, CDs, T-shirts. I mean, you're like the one-man orchestra, pretty much. How does that work? I mean, it's got to be a lot of work because you do a lot of stuff behind the scenes people don't really pay attention to.
I just have to go to the post office a few days a week. I have to make a lot of packages at home. That's my job, making packages going to the post.
Don't you get tired of it all?
No.
Okay.
It's rock and roll.
What drives you?
Share your stuff with everybody.
What do you say, brother?
Hey, brother.
Hey, Mark.
You want to share everything, with these people. It's great to see you, man. Hell yeah, brother. We'll talk in a few. No problem, brother.
Okay.
Sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah, we're talking about you doing the merch, doing. You also are in charge of planning your tours. I mean, that's a lot of work too.
Let's say that I have different agencies that work for us now, but I am on the internet 24 hours a day looking for another festival or show or tour all the time. So I really do stick at it all the time, morning, noon, and night. My wife's always yelling at me to get off the computer. But
no, I do see your presence.
But I'm constantly finding more concerts and festival offers, and the only reason is because in this modern technology world, I fish it sometimes, and sometimes they write back and say, yes, we'll do that. You can be on our festival.
Not too long ago, there was a picture book about your life, music life. Care to explain what it was and how it came about?
Yeah, these Annie from Skull Crusher. It's a festival. It's a club. They do a festival every year. They do shows in Dresden, Germany. Contacted me about this idea. He and another biker friend of his, an older guy, he's a millionaire, and they were interested in putting together a pictorial book about my life. And of course, I was interested. So what I did is I sent them like thousands of pictures, the real pictures and books, and then they returned them to me at a festival, and they picked the ones they liked the best. And I just thought, for this, it'd be better to have someone else pick the best photos. Why should I pick always the ones I think that are good? So it was a different, different eye looking at the pictures. Okay, I would have chose some other ones too, but it doesn't matter. But they did a really good job, and they released it with this special cover. You got a copy?
Yep, I do.
And I was happy, and they had me just write the foreword and write some stories, in the book, and intros to each set of pictures or whatever.
How did that book do?
Oh, I don't have the exact numbers, but it's still selling. And I keep ordering more from them. Every year I order another 50 or 100, I keep selling them. I don't know if they made a lot of money, but it doesn't matter. They're happy, and I'm happy, and people get to see the book, and it's okay.
So if there was so much interest in pictorial book. Would you ever consider writing a biography?
I've got it about 3/4 written, but I'm going to wait until I retire. It's going to be called The Truth. And
Okay.
there's going to be a lot of disappointed people in there because some of them are going to get slammed really hard because of what they did to me. That's life. But what I decided for this book is that we'll probably do interviews with other people too. So it's not just one-sided. Someone who hates my guts or someone who loves me will be able to write in that book too. And I think it's a good idea to give really an open shot at the book, you know. Not everybody loves you, man. You know, of course there are people that hate you. And I told my friends that we're going to have to get some interviews from the people that hate my guts too, and let's hear their story about this asshole Paul Speckmann.
Great balance.
I think it's good for a book. Instead of just doing a one-sided book about how great I am every day, I got to get a couple guys that hate my guts and tell a bad story about me. What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with that.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea. Very balanced.
This is what I want to do.
Paul, you've been living in Europe for many years now.
20.
How did you end up in Czech Republic, of all places?
Well, I met this Czech band, Krabathor, on a tour in Europe. It was supposed to be Vader, Malevolent Creation, and Master, and for some reason Vader was busy, so they canceled the tour. They did some other tour. Malevolent Creation went over as the headliner, then Master was the co-headliner, and they brought in a band from Czech called Krabathor. Well, I started hanging out with these guys on the bus. Okay, we did 44 shows in 50 days, I think. And it was a school bus, like an American school bus. No normal beds, no toilet. It was a really crazy tour. We either killed each other or you became friends with each other, everyone. And these guys in Krabathor and I started doing sound checks together and playing and having fun. And, you know, in the afternoon sometimes just jamming together. And when their bass player Bruno left to form his band Hypnos, they invited me to join Krabathor. So I moved to the Czech Republic. I met a babe. I lived with her for 20 years, married her 13 years ago next week. And I stayed there, and life is good there. It's very free and very open there.
Do you have any regrets about leaving Chicago?
Not at all. There's so much control in America, so many police, so many politicians, so much bullshit going on. They want to know everything you're doing. Over there in the Czech Republic, I found a new form of freedom. It's what America used to be when I was growing up in the 70s. They're still living in the 70s, I guess. There's still freedoms over there, you know? Like when you're on the highway, for example, and you're driving around in America, there's police everywhere and roadblocks and all kinds of shit. In the Czech Republic, you're lucky if you see one cop across the entire country when you're driving to Germany, you know? I found that more freedom for me. They don't bother me. They don't ask me questions. They don't look at me funny on the street. If the police are walking, they walk past me. They don't look at me funny. They see all kinds of long-haired freaks everywhere. They're more open to freedom now. America used to be the land of the free for me, but now it's a little different. People are nosy.
When you do come back to America, Chicago in particular, how do you feel?
Oh, I feel at home again, of course. I'm seeing all my friends. Many friends are here tonight that I haven't seen in 30 years since high school. It's nice to see everybody. You know, I feel good. It's nice to return. Okay, usually we play in Chicago, but this is okay. A suburban gig, something we haven't done in 30 years. It's okay. I'm looking forward to the show.
Believe it or not, back in 1989, Master reformed,
Yeah.
which in 2019, that marks 30 years of Master.
Yeah.
How did that reformation come about? Because at that time you were doing Abomination and that was going really well for you.
Yeah, well, I decided, you know, we got a record contract for Abomination and a week later for Master. So I said, guys, you know, do you want to try it again? And we got together and recorded that album in '89. And unfortunately, Mr. Schmidt became an asshole 2 days after the recording again. Wanted to take over and start giving me orders again like he did in the early days, which was fine then. He was the leader, whatever quote-unquote unofficial leader at that time. And well, obviously after all these years without him, I became my own master. And so when he became an asshole again, then I had to go on tour with other people, with Jim Martinelli from Burnt Offering and Aaron Nikias on drums. We did a double tour, Abomination, Master, 26 concerts in Europe. We had a blast. And I didn't have the same stress, you know?
Back in 1989, when you reformed the band, did you think it was going to go on for that as long as it did, and it's still continuing?
Oh, I knew it would. I knew it would. There was no doubt in my mind that it was the right decision. Just the wrong decision was taking taking the original drummer back, but whatever. You know, it's unfortunate for Chris that things didn't work out because I decided to make a new start with other people. You know, nothing personal. I love the guy. He's a great guy, Chris, still. He was here earlier. I guess I missed him. I was doing an interview, but okay.
So finally, what would you say is the secret to your longevity in the business?
Perseverance, you know. I won't give up, you know. The idea is, you know, you keep releasing albums, you keep playing shows, you're nice to the people, you're nice to the fans, you meet them, you meet and greet, hang out at the merch stand, take pictures. People support underground metal, you know. And today, this is why it's still working, because I'm still approachable, you know. There's many guys that are famous, more famous, that are totally unapproachable, and I think it's the wrong thing, man, because without the fans, you're nothing. So you got to be able to say hello to the fans. Okay, I'll admit, like in Colombia and Chile, it's like the Beatles. I need security to go to the bathroom. 5 guys standing around me in a chain while I'm peeing. But it's different. But I'm just saying, for the most part, you should be approachable for the people. I don't know. It's nice to see someone famous walking around, hanging out. Not saying me, but I'm just saying, you know, like at the airport, Ozzy Osbourne. We saw him on our way to Japan on our Japan tour, and Ozzy was there with Geezer and Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, and they were walking around, and Ozzy shook the last drummer Aaron Nikias' hand at the airport. He said hello, you know, and even Ozzy was personable there. He could have been a jerk right there. He was really nice to him. Well, hello, how are you? And
That leaves an impression, doesn't it?
yes, and that just told me right there. Here we are again. Here's Ozzy Osbourne. He's a friendly guy in the airport. He could have been a prick. That's nice. I waved to Geezer. He said hello. I kept walking. I mean, you don't want to terrorize these people, but I like the idea that they're approachable in some situations. You know?
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.